Welcome, everybody. In case you weren't here yesterday, I know some of you are back from this morning. My name is Wendy Looker. I'm the current president of North Carolina ACDA. I'm so glad we've got people here from out of state. That's awesome. Welcome. And Jeremy Tucker is next to me on my Zoom screen. He is our president-elect. And I have word that our NC-ACDA website is up and running again. It was, although it's not working for me now. So anyway, if you are trying to register for our upcoming fall conference series, which begins on Saturday, you are able to do that on our website. And I'll put the website in the chat. We'll be doing more virtual choir things. One thing I did want to mention is we are going to have on our August 8th, these are all Saturdays that we're going to be doing this. On August 8th, we're going to have a panel discussion, including Laura, with people who have been working for a while now with virtual choirs on different platforms, different softwares. So you can ask questions and we can compare and contrast. And we'll also be having some sessions with some breakout rooms and smaller discussion on various issues, also some interest sessions, all sort of related to digital learning and virtual choirs. So I'm going to go ahead and let Laura get going. Laurajsam is a retired music educator here in North Carolina, beloved by many, if not all. And she is the current artistic director of Women's Voices Chorus in Chapel Hill. So thank you, Laura, for being here and doing all this work for us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Wendy. And thank you, Jeremy, for all of your organizing and giving me the opportunity to share. And thanks everyone who's joining us this afternoon, especially if you came back from yesterday. Yay! And if you're new today, just welcome to everyone. I'm just so glad that you're here. And as I said yesterday, I just think that it's just amazing and wonderful that that we're all learning new skills so that we can move past survive and into thrive in our virtual world. I'm probably going to put that in on a t-shirt, like VC, thrive. You know, I don't know. I'll make a t-shirt. But anyway, it's I think it's really a great opportunity for us to share what we know. So many people have shared with me, and I just see this as an opportunity to share back what I've learned. I may be just a little further down the road than you are. So again, I'll just say that I'm no expert. I just know what I know, and I'm happy to share. And like I said, there's a money back guarantee if something is not to your liking about the sessions. So today we're going to get into a lot more detailed work. Yesterday was sort of a fire hose of an overview. And so today we'll hopefully you'll gain some confidence as I really walk through things in a more step-by-step manner. So just remember that I'm not going to look at the chat once I start screen sharing, and so so don't ask me things privately. You can email me for that later if you want, but just ask it to everyone, and then Jeremy and Wendy will see that, and I'll look on my phone every now and then to just see what the text messages are. And then also to just let you know or remind you that when you're in Zoom, if you open up your chat when Wendy shares links, that if that's a link that you want to see, then just click on it, it'll open, and then you can look at it later and save whatever document or follow the link or whatever. So if you just click on it during the chat, then you'll have it for yourself. And I will be sharing all of these resources, and the videos will go up on the North Carolina ACDA website, which is down right now. It's not down because of us, it's server issues. But all of these resources will be available on the website just as soon as we can just clean things up and give them to our webmaster to post. So it won't be today, it'll be more toward the end of the week after the session is over. So let's see, here we go, countdown to blast off. All right. Yesterday, I referenced this resource and links list a few times, and Wendy will put this in the chat And plus you'll have this when I post it and share it at the end too. But there are a few places that I just want to highlight. A lot of these things I opened yesterday, so I won't open them again now. But this virtual choir hub, just want to call your attention. Oops, I got to get into my slideshow for it to work. This virtual choir hub just launched a few days ago. This is David Tang's vision for how we can work on virtual choirs in a way that that we form new relationships and collaborations across socioeconomic, racial, and geographical barriers that once stood in our way but have fallen during the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a lot of information here on the website. It's just being born, and would love for you to join in. And so check out this website, please, and see what it's all about. I'm definitely planning on being a part of what I think can be a really wonderful way for us to reach one another and hold each other up. The overview of virtual choir resources I mentioned several times. This is a document that Kathleen Hansen, who was in the movie with me that I showed you at the beginning yesterday, she spent a lot of time putting together a very well curated, researched document about sort of all the various things regarding virtual choirs. So, you know, sometimes you might think, well, what sort of software is out there? And do I have the machine that can run it? You know, all those sorts of things. But as I'm scrolling through it, you can see that there's a ton of hyperlinks, and Kathleen did a beautiful job putting this together. So I just encourage you to come here and check it out. So there's that. We're going to be working in Logic today. That's the DAW, the DAW, Digital Audio Workstation or audio software that I work in. And I just want to point out to you that there's some really valuable free instructional guides on YouTube or on websites. And so this why Logic Pro rules. One of the links that they have are this very step-by-step guide, like you've just opened Logic and here's how to get started. I found it super helpful. There's more than these 5 videos. Go to the YouTube channel, go to the website. There's all kinds of resources there. Plus, I signed up for the newsletter, and so I get frequent news blasts about something new, or hey, look at this video that I just posted, and I think it's really very, very helpful. Then these Facebook groups, if you haven't already visited the Virtual Choir Forum, that's Kathleen Hansen, who put together the overview document. She's the one that started it, and the reason she started the Facebook page is because she wanted to learn how to make virtual choirs and thought, well, we're all learning, so let's just share. That is an awesome Facebook page. The other day, I was trying to learn how to use a keying effect, you know, sort of the green screen. And so I was having trouble. I knew I was probably just missing one step of what I was supposed to be doing. And I posted my question in response to what someone else had posted. And by the end of the afternoon, it was kind of a frustrating afternoon because I spent many hours trying to figure this out. But by the end of the afternoon, a person had made a workflow video and had posted it to the Facebook page, tagging me saying, here, I made a workflow. This is how you do keying. And he did it not only for Final Cut, which is the software I use, but he also did it for another software program. And he's like, oh, I saw somebody else was asking the same question, so here's the workflow. And it was just incredibly generous. And you know, and I'm really appreciative of that. Whoops, I'm stuck. So let me get unstuck. Sorry. I have a question. Why does my pointer go away? All right. Here we go. The Virtual Choir Hub, that's the Facebook page of the website that I just shared with you. That's David Tang's, and there's some really nice examples of virtual choirs there. Tips for making a virtual choir is not as large of a group, but I've seen some really helpful hints there, and also some nice postings of virtual choirs. So I recommend those Facebook pages to you. There are probably others, but those are definitely ones that I go to frequently. These things I opened up yesterday, and we've seen all of this. except for this simple Grid X Pro, and I'll show you that later in the week when we're working on video editing. And then of course here's my contact information, so that if you want some more information after after this boot camp is over, there's how to contact me. So back to what today is all about. Today is orange. I hope you like orange. And we only have one slide for today, which is super awesome. Okay, so we're going to work on some audio mixing today, but we're also going to backtrack a little bit. Lots of folks had questions about the actual logistics of creating those guide tracks, and I'll have time today to actually walk us through a bit of that process. So we're going to look at converting our recordings. I know somebody also already asked in the chat before I started screen sharing about the converter that I use, and so I'll show you that in a moment. Then we're going to open those guide tracks, open that project. We're going to import our recordings. We're going to organize them. We're going to align. We're going to look to see how to unlock. Most of the time the tracks will come in locked, and this is what the lock is called. And I spent at least a day with my tracks locked and not knowing what to do about it, and it turned out it was this. So this is the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, and it's sort of a timestamp sort of lock, and I'll show you how to unlock your tracks so that you can freely move them around, which is what you'll need to do when you're aligning voices. And using your waveform zoom, we'll trim our tracks, we'll adjust for balance, we'll look at our peak meters and how to use those. We'll adjust the pan. That's just meaning that we're positioning our audio in the stereo mix from left to right and across that stereo field. We'll look at how to bounce a project when we're finished with it. And I'll show you that if you're working in Logic for the first time, I'll show you how to enable your advanced tools, because otherwise it just sort of looks like GarageBand until you can see your advanced tools. Okay, so that's what we're going to cover today. And I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions I need to answer before we move on. Okay, and I'm not seeing any, so I'll just zoom right on ahead. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna really have to start clicking around a whole lot. So I'll try to be as efficient as I can, but no guarantees, except that money back guarantee. You always have that. All right, so I'm just gonna open up Logic, and this is one of the guide tracks that we looked at yesterday. Sorry, I'm gonna go to the one I want us to actually look at. We're going to look at this one in just a minute. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you that this is what that Midi guide track looked like. So the only audio recording in this is my voiceover here at the beginning and at the end. But if I really wanted to make this guide track like be everything that it could be, I would send this to my my video editing software, and I would create a video of me conducting with the score scrolling. I would do all that, but I would also add voices so that people are not just hearing this soprano MIDI piano played, but they're actually hearing a voice sing. And well, I know as a participant, it's very pleasant to sing with beautiful voices in my ears and hear where the consonants go and how long did that ending note really last. And it's just very, very fun to sing with voices there. So this MIDI can be super accurate, but also not, it lacks the human element that I think is really wonderful in a guide track. So we're going to sort of look at how you could consider making both of these things happen. All right. So there's a question of not knowing what to do when you get a singer's video because you open Logic Pro, and then what do you do? So I'm going to show you that. So you've come to the right place because we're going to do exactly that. Okay, so to get to this sort of guide track, what I'm going to do is use files that are there and ready for you to use so that you could practice, in the coming days before you're actually making your own if you wanted to. And so I'm going to go to Oh Sing Joyfully. It's an Adrian Batten piece that is in public domain. Let's see. I'll close Be the Change. I don't need to save anything because I didn't make any changes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how to get here. And here is, this is my voiceover. This is my my percussion click track. It's too long. I don't know what I was doing. I probably was just playing in here earlier, but it doesn't need to start until right here. So maybe I'll just go ahead and fix that. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this over. I'm going to move it over there, and then I can just trim off of these ends this way. Okay, I need to get my little trimmer. There we go. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now I did, at some point along the way, I shifted all of this over. I don't know, this should, let me just fix this very quickly. So I'm just going to move this over so it actually starts at the beginning of the first note, which is right here. There's the first note, and I want that to move over. Oh, I know what I need to do. I just need to move my audio over. Yeah, okay. And then I won't move any of this. Hopefully that will line up. We'll see in a minute. Okay, so how did I get this to happen? What I did was I went to Coramore, my newly most visited website. This is the one that Troy Robertson put together. This is a work in progress because all of us that are part of Coramore keep contributing, and it keeps growing and growing. You can be part of Coramore. It's free. I encourage you to come and join up. It's not a competition with ACDA. Most of us are ACDA members. It's just another resource. So I'm going to click on resources, and then I'm going to look at all of these resources that are already here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my editing practice resources and a place that I can practice my video and audio editing skills. Yay, because I certainly need that. And right now there are two pieces that are in this folder to practice with, and I'm going to choose "Oh Sing Joyfully." And just looking to see what's here, you can see that Troy created already a mix track. He already got the XML file from CPDL, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And 8 of us, so I'm one of the singers, I forget which number I am, but 8 of us who participated in this project, he loaded our videos in here, obviously with our permission, so that people can just have them to work with as practice files. So how did Troy get this XML file? Troy went to another great website, which is Choral Public Domain Library, and "Oh Sing Joyfully," and maybe I should have typed in Batten. Nope. So Adrian Batten's our composer, and you can see that all of these people have contributed some sort of file on "Oh Sing Joyfully." So this is the XML file. So I would probably glance through these and see which score was already sort of the way that I would like for it to be. And you can see people, PDFs, Sibelius scores. Somebody has a recording here, somebody else. But let's just assume that I look through all of them, and I think this one is the most well done. So I'm just going to click on that XML and allow the download it to my laptop. And I'm going to cancel it now because I don't want to slow us down with having to wait for downloads and things. But what I've done is I've created a folder for my project in Final Cut. My video editing is the last thing I do, and Final Cut is very finicky about wanting all of your source material in a place that is like designated place. It stays there. You can always relink files, but you can run into some trouble. Things can get murky if you have files just sort of bouncing around everywhere. So I created an "Oh Sing Joyfully" project folder, and you can see I've already been practicing a lot with these videos, which has been really wonderful to practice with because the singers are beautiful, and so my ears are filled with beautiful singing while I'm practicing, which is lots of fun. You can see that I already downloaded this XML file. I just got it from Choral Public Domain Library, so nothing about this costs anything, and also I don't have to worry about any sync license because it's in public domain, so nobody owns it. I can do what I want with it. Now, once I have this XML file in place, that's when I can open my notation software, which I'm using Sibelius, but I just got Sibelius last week. Before that, I was using a free software called MuseScore. There are definitely other, free softwares. Um, that was just what I was using for what I was doing, and so I'm going to just open this O Sing Joyfully because I've already imported it into Sibelius. So, if I hadn't, I would just need to go to my file and my import, and then, well, it thinks I'm in this project already, but you would just import it, just follow those very basic steps to import your XML file. And then it opens up, and, then of course, you're going to have to just check it for accuracy and make sure that you don't need to do any little cleanup, like maybe the tenor part ended up down, it's showing middle C when actually you're using a tenor clef and you need it to be here. And so however your notation software works, that's how you need to clean things up. But it's once I've looked at it and I've decided that it's ready to go, then I can just export it. I can save it as a new XML file because now, now I've cleaned it up. And I can say I want it to go as a music XML file. Compressed would probably work too, but I just worked in uncompressed. And I would export it, and it would say where do I want it to go, and I would send it to my O Sing Joyfully folder that I've already set up, so it's there. And then I would export it out. So I'm not going to because I already did that. It's already sitting in the folder, but that's how I got it in the folder. All right. So moving on from there. So now it's sitting in my folder, and I can close out my library. And so how do I now get it into Logic? So I'll just open up a brand new one. So I'm going to say, sorry, before I do that, if you're opening Logic for the first time, go under Preferences, and then go under Advanced Tools. Click on that, and when you open it for the first time, it's going to look like this. And then the software actually will look a lot like GarageBand, which is freeware that comes with Apple products. Well, I mean, it's not free. You've paid a lot for those products, but it's included. So I'm just going to click on Show Advanced Tools, and I want them all. So I've previously selected them, so they already are selected. And then I would click on Enable All. So mine are already enabled, so I don't need to do that, but that's what you would need to do for the first time. So I'm going to close that out. And now I'm just going to start a new project. So I'm going to start new. I'm going to go ahead and just leave this open because I probably want to refer back to it, but Logic really doesn't like to have multiple things going at the same time. So you probably, do want to just close one, just work one at a time. All right, so I'm going to just open with a, well, let's see, I can't see. Hang on, my Zoom controls are in the way. I'm going to open with audio. It doesn't really matter. You just need to have at least something. Choose something. You don't need to choose the number of tracks. You can just add that as you go. And then I'm going to tell it to create a project. And so here's my brand new project ready to go. I'll go ahead and leave that audio file there because I know I'm going to want my voiceover, with my instructions that I want singers to hear when they record. So I'll just leave that there. But I do want to get my Midi files in, my XML. So I'm going to import my music XML. So it just asks me where it is, and it's somewhere in here. There it is. So I'll import that. Okay, and there's all 4 of my voices. So remember yesterday I said that you want to work in an open score if you want to be able to send the soprano guide track out independent from the other 3 voices. If you're not in an open score, you know, all your voices would have been here just in one MIDI track together. If they're all on the same staff, they're all going to come in together. Um, so I like to work in an open score so that I have some flexibility on what I can send to singers. Now, when I want to play in Logic over Zoom, I have to let it know that I want to use Zoom devices, and I think it remembered it from the session this morning, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to play, but you can't hear anything because I have not assigned an instrument to these tracks. So they're just those little MIDI, I don't know what to call them. I just call them MIDI blobs, but they need to have a voice. So I'm gonna if you're using different software from Logic, your workstation will probably look similar. But I can't, you know, I won't know how to use the other things beyond Logic, but you can probably find these places. So I need to open my library, and then I want, I think I want some sort of piano. I mean, you can just choose whatever you want for your voices, but I want to choose a piano voice. And so that should bring, let's see. Oh, okay. Did you see what I did? I had my audio track selected and I assigned it to be a grand piano. So that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't have my track selected, so apologize for that. So I'm just gonna, why not have a Bosendorfer? And so now my track has sound. Okay, so I would just do that same thing for each one of these other voices, and I could give them all piano or strings or clarinet or, you know, whatever you want to do. So the next thing, if I want to record those instructions, I could either just drag it in from a previous project, or I could just create them right here on the spot. So I'm going to select the track. I'm going to, this is my record button, so I'm just going to make up something. Whoa. All right, get ready to sing. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know why it's not working? Because it's a grand piano, and I need this to be an audio track. Let me just delete this. I spend a lot of my day deleting things and redoing things, but that's how you learn. Okay, see, it's telling me there's regions on this track. This is the track, like this lane is the track, but this over here, this is a region. So it's just warning me that I recorded something. Okay, so I'm going to add a new track. I'm going to add an audio track and really use it as an audio track this time. Oh, y'all, let's see. No, I'm good. I thought I just deleted my soprano track, but I didn't. Let's bring soprano down here. Come on down. There you go. All right, so I'm going to record my audio voiceover here. So, all right, I have no idea why that's happening. I should just be able to click on my record. There we go. Hold. Okay, something else I did. I don't want these things to play while I'm recording. So now needs to go, so I need to delete it. Bye-bye. That is one step you cannot undo. So make sure when you're deleting track regions like that, you really, okay. Hold your camera position. Get ready to sing. 2, 3. All right, something else is I'm not, I think y'all are just seeing all my levels. I've selected Zoom preference that I just have both of these on, but I really be able to use my microphone, so I'm going to need to change to my MacBook Pro mic like that. Okay. So here we go again. When I sew, I'm the same way. My sister says I do more, which means taking it out. All right, let's try this again. Okay. Okay, so of myself giving instructions. You heard a lot of echo just then because I had the sound lolly la. So there it is. Okay, so my voiceover, I need to scoot these guide tracks. Need to be after the voiceover. So I'm just going to select, and I'm just going to scoot them over. They are. So there's my voiceover. I've pretend that I still haven't made a click track, so I'm going to create that, another track. This can be a software and let's see, right above, so it's going to be there, right below my voiceover. Now here's going to be my click track. So I need to assign first region, so I'm going to right click or control click and create a MIDI region. There it is. To assign it a voice. So I'm going to come over here to my library, which is already open, grab the piano, and you just have to look through what kind of voice you like better than others. I just find that I like this mid-tom, this roll. Select that, and here's the voice assigned, but notice there's nothing there. It can't have there's nothing there to play. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to press my keyboard. That's going to open up this, and here's where I'm going to notes. I use my pencil, the regular tools. These are my have to press down the command key when I use them tools. So I've set pencil because I'm going to put in a beat, and I'm going to put one and another one. I don't need very many of these, and just duplicate this. But I will want my first beat to be stronger. I want my downbeat to be. I'm going to select it and change the velocity on. It's really the strength of it. So I'm just going to put it at about 100, and I'll let the other beats be soft. I'm going to take that one away. So there you can see up here, there are my beats. Right, this is a little tricky because it's obviously there was no meter there when it was, but you know, then we've applied. You have to look up here back, and I just opened that, pressing that little button. But I slid these tracks around, so I would have time to do today, but this is something that you could easily find out if you just look at a Logic tutorial about your global track. Okay, so there's my drum beat, and I'm going to close my editor by pressing the E key, and then I want to just drag this out. I don't actually want it. I don't want it going while I'm giving instructions here at the end of my instructions, and then I'm going to just drag it out, and you can see it just repeats over and over again, and I'll just drag it out to the end of the project. But so I'm just going to click for instrument, and I want a piano again to pitch. So type in piano, and let's see. And so I need to create a region by right click or control click, create MIDI region. Go in my pitch editor and open by my E key, put my pitches in. I forget which, maybe they were A flat, C. Something I found in Choral World is it's C5, and in Logic World it's C3. So I don't know why, but it is. So I would need the pitches that I need for my starting pitch, and then they would be there. So that's how I created that. I don't have time to do every single step, but you can find lots of tutorials about doing this sort of thing on YouTube. So, all right, so I'm going to close my editor by pressing the E key. I'm going to move my starting pitches over here. Then I still need to move these voices over a little bit so they're after the starting pitch, and so on. So you get an idea of just the process of setting this up. Let's go to I've actually, fine-tuned the one I showed a few minutes ago, and I'm just kicked on. I know it's really loud, so I apologize. I'll leave everything open. We'll just live briefly for a moment. Probably why my fan down here. Okay. You can see the voiceover versions, the pitches at the beginning. When you, I'll just play this so you can hear what it sounds like. Be still. Sorry, that's not very loud. Let me turn that up. Turn all this up a little bit louder. Be still and prepare to sing. And ready, sing. Okay, and so on. All right, so here's that guide track. Now, next thing that I want to do is I want to actually, folks, and now I want people to send their recordings back to me. So I'm going to just hide this track for a minute. This is actually my finished product track. So we're not there yet, so I'm going to hide it. I right-clicked on the track area, and I'm going to say hide selected track. If I want to see it again, I just click on my hide button up here. If I want to hide it again, I just click again. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. It's there, but I don't want to see it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my folder where I've collected. So people have uploaded or downloaded their individual recordings to the shared folder that I went through that process yesterday. And so here they are right here. I'm noticing that Singer 2 sent me an MP4 file. I found out that when I'm working with syncing audio to video, if I have mixed files, then so before I into the project, I'm going to, so instead of an MP4, it's a QuickTime movie file. And the way I do that is open up, so I have Movavi, and here it is. There was a question in the chat, freeware, no, there might be free converters out. If there are, I didn't discover them before I bought this one. I think $49 maybe, free version of this, but it'll only do a minute or so. But you could at least test it and see if you like it. I love it. It does everything I want it to do. So the only thing I have to do is just drag this singer's file in here, and then tell it I want it to convert to a Final Cut Pro movie file. I have not found any difference between Final Cut Pro movie, and since it says Final Cut, and that's what I'm using, and click on that. But honestly, I've found no difference in these two. Okay, so I convert that. I'm not going to do it now because it just takes a couple of seconds, but there's no need because I already have done it. And so I just created a folder to work in. These are all 8 of the singers that participated in the project through core. None of us knew each other, but now I know several of them. It's really fun. And so now I'm just going to drag them into the project. So here's singer 1. Here we go. Just bring them in here. Now I get this window that says, do I want to open the movie? I absolutely do not, because I'm just going to work with the audio file, so it's going to extract the audio track and just say okay. And then I'm 7 singers, so just select 2 through, and I'm just going to drag, and it's going to ask me, and it's going to ask each one. Okay. And Logic just tends to put things, put it on the top. But you don't want to grab a hold of your region here and start moving things, laying things on top of other things. When you want to move a track from place to place, you just grab the track and move it like, and then you can change the order of anything. You can set up your workflow however you want to set it. I like to keep the sopranos together, and so on. So that this singer, if you're trying to keep the sopranos together, so label these, you just double click and just type in, I'll just pretend like this person's a soprano, I don't know, without listening. So the way that opened was I just double clicked on it, and then I want to type, I have no idea what they're singing, I'm just making that up. I'd have to listen to. So I'm gonna just undo that. They'll be mysterious. So when these tracks, to do is unlock them. So remember the lock that I was talking about? There it is. And I spent the good part of a day to show you what happened. So I wanted to line these tracks up, but I was trying to drag it over. It just kept bouncing back. And I didn't know what to add, how to fix it. And I don't know how I finally figured. And I'm going to at the bottom. Okay, I got everybody selected. I'm just going to right click or control click and just unlock SMPTE. Locked it. These tracks around. Oops, I have them all select each individual track around, well, all kinds of things. However, I want to slow down and it will move where I. Okay, so the first thing I do is line these tracks up. This is where track comes in handy. So this is an a cappella piece that every singer sings the first note. So soprano, alto, tenors, basses, we all start together. So I'm just going to use the soprano line as my alignment guide. And I'm just pulling it up to the very top. And I'm going to slide it over a little bit. So notice I'm sliding all these things around every which direction. When I get everything in, I'm going to need to make some adjustments in my global trap here, but probably not lining up here anymore. You can very quickly do, there's lots of tutorial type things that will tell you how to alter the elements in your track. This is your globe. So let's soprano in place, and I'm going to make all these trackpad, or I can come over here and use my zoom tool. That a horizontal zoom, and this is a vertical zoom. Sometimes vertical folks are. Another thing that's really helpful is to send you a recording where you can barely there, but you can hard. So you just grab a waveform zoom right here and drag this down. Like see how this waveform is. So you can't really tell is that actually start singing right there. So you just need to. This is not a volume control in any way. It just makes your waveform to see. But I have it where I can see it. I'm going to put my playhead right when that first note starts, and then I start sliding people over. Now notice I can't slide this person anymore because I've got all this X right here. So I just grabbed the chord, brought that in some. I didn't there, but it's like I folded it under. Now I'm probably want to. Okay, and now that person is going to start when that MIDI file starts. but you have to remember that as singers, we may not be entirely as when more places than just this beginning place. It's going to do a ruffle and is in this project starting at roughly the same time. You can see this is not taking me very long to do. And I'm zooming in and out really fast, right? Like I am my pad. There's got excess, so I can slide them over as far. And I went to, okay, that's close. Get rid of some of this extra that might be in my way. And I'm just going to move this singer over. Oh, there's a lot of extra. Somebody having a party before they say, okay. I know this seems tedious, but into a great podcast, Birch's Music Ed Matter, or Philman's Choir Baton. Okay, one more. Okay, this person ended up all the way there. Okay. All right. So let's just have a listen. We have. I'll zoom us back in. Make sure you have. Oh, so we don't need to hear me. So I'm going to mute this. Just going to press my little M key. Also, any of these other voices. I'm just going to mute. Oops. I'm just going to mute all of these. Alignment we got.
Oh, joyfully, oh, sing joy on our strength.
Okay, so that is quite aligned, and we're all choral. There's choral musicians, so we can really pretty good job. Let's just say, for instance, so you're looking at this right here. Things aren't lining up. If they're supposed to be lined, not. I'm going to show you how, like this person had a little bit of voice part than this person because it, it's all polyphonic there. Let's just say, for example, that these together right here, your flex tools, move, nudge them one way or another to get everybody look up. But anyway, we've got what I would do, I would instead of files out. Here's my alto guide track. Let's just pretend like was my alto section in the choir. I would bounce the singer file with the instruction sort of thing. When people recording, then they've got a huge measurable than a Midi file. And I would then use this when I rehearse in the fall, which just feels like a practice file. They have real, even better voices that they recognize their section leaders within rehearsal and much less isolating is obviously the problems with virtual rehearsal. So I got us here. So we've did basic alignment minute of questions so far. I'm going to march us down to the next step. All right, let's see. So the question is Pro, have to sync them again and file it, or do they automatically sync up? Step right here, we're creating that then are the basis for our, and so these voices right here are the tracks that are going to actually, I'm going to borrow, and then these are the ones that I will import my software into Thursday so that I can then Final has a sync tool. So, but these eight mixed down track is what's going to go to Final. But this is the audio that I extracted from theirs. And so when I import the audio on it and sync it to, and I'll show you how that works on, so just, and the question is, so human guide track, then do the MIDI file need to be included? And the answer, absolutely not. But if you're starting, your singers, your section leaders need something to start with. So section leaders could use, I mean, everybody could use this MIDI guide to create their recordings. But my section leaders to request their guide track, and now you can the section leader's voice or singers to use as guide. I know I quickly showed you. I showed you a lot, so it was a thing. Just go through one that I need MIDI files for, and so every time I do this for, which is once a week, let's see. Hang on, so you can see what it really looks like. Okay, I'm gonna hide that one, and I'll hide this one. Right clicking on the track and doing it. So I got my 10 bass and got my, I think, no, that's the same way. So the alto's in here for 10 for now, that 4 voice parts. So the way this track was created was the organist, he recorded, then he could just send that to me, listen to the organ with my earbuds, singing either on my phone if I were videotaping or directly into this program and using my record button, which is what I do all the time. And I would just record the soprano track, and then I would record the alto track, and then maybe the tenor track, and but can't do the bass track, so somebody would have to do me. So I'd send the soprano and the organ and say, hey, could you sing bass and record it, and I can add that in as a guide track. So I've created with only the voices and the and this you know, it still takes time, but it can go pretty fast. This hinges except for a little do yesterday. If you feel like you want a track, you could always tap pencil and you know, make a click track, just record it. I'm working with right now don't need it because these hymns are very straightforward and no tempo changes till a little slow down at the end, so it's just not necessary. No, you don't need the MIDI files to do this. This is all audio. There's no XML files, MIDI, that. It's just all pure audio. What I do every week. The advantage to Midi, like I said yesterday, is the absolute accuracy of the pitch and the rhythm. And also, if you already have an XML file, then why not use it? You're not having to really do very many more steps to have it in your project. So, if you already have it, I would say use it. But if you have to create it from scratch, maybe you would choose not to. Okay, so now I'm gonna close that.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, there's a request for you to play 10 seconds or so of this before you
Oh,
close it.
what I just deleted, what I just closed? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's all
Did
right.
you
I can
just-
reopen it. I think it was this.
we want to hear a sample.
Oh, okay. All right. So here it is. Are y'all singing along? Lots of folks know this hymn, I think. So I'm just working on this. So this is not a finished product. You'll see all the steps that I've done by the end of tomorrow, but I'm not finished with this one yet. But there it is. It's just organ and voices. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so now I'm going to close this one out. I'm not going to save anything I just did. Okay, so we're back to our O Sing Joyfully project. And the next thing that we need to do, we've got people basically lined up. So the next step is to, when I said organize this according to your workflow. So, choose to put the sopranos together, the altos together, whatever. You can also, if it helps you organize, I'm a real visual person, and so if I'm going to work with a lot of tracks, it would probably help me to assign a track color, and maybe your soprano is going to be pink. And then I'm just right clicking. I'm also going to assign a color to the region. And so maybe I'm going to make all the sopranos pink and just choose a different color for each section. That makes it really fast to see too when you're when you get a lot of voices. And I'm going to show you tomorrow how you're going to combine these voices down to like all the sopranos on one track, all the altos on one track, and then you can combine all the voices onto one track, and I'll show you that as we move through the process tomorrow. But that is tomorrow's lesson and not today's lesson. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm looking at our list. So you can, I think it's helpful to just sort of get these all approximately the same length, and I'll show you why. They don't need to be exact, but you just want to sort of pull them into an approximate amount. And the reason why is this soul muted down here? I'll unmute them. The reason why you would want to pull these in to be a similar length is Logic already applies a fade in, so it doesn't go from 0 to 100 instantaneously, because you would get a pop sound, and so most software, if not all, accounts for that, and so you can't see it, but there's a little fade in there, and so it keeps it from popping. But what it doesn't keep it from doing is going from silence to silence, and then there's sort of all of that room noise that might be on a track, just all the presence. Well, I'm going to show you how to get rid of unwanted room noise, but just that presence. And the way you ease into that is just select your tracks. I'm just clicking and dragging, and I'm coming up here to my tools, and I want my fade tool, and then I'm just going to make a fade happen on the top one, and it brought a fade in on all the other ones. And that's going to be better than just all of a sudden whoosh, there's all this sound. And you can change the curve of this fade in. I haven't noticed, even when I go really extreme, my ears can't hear a difference, but you know, maybe yours can. And if I change one, they're all selected, so I've changed them all. So I'm going to do that at the beginning and at the end. Okay, and let me just back up what a region is. I'm just looking at my questions, and thank you all so much for asking these questions, because you'll get used to the terminology, but until you do, it's, you know, it's a lot to take in. So this whole thing is the track, but this part right here, this is the region, because I might end up with, you know, like if I were mixing a pop song or something, I might end up with a whole bunch of regions all on this one track, all these little snippets of sampled sound or little vocal here, and you know, so a track can have multiple regions. The whole lane is the track, and then this thing right here is the region. For virtual choirs, I'm going to probably just have one region per track, but there, you know, it is a separate thing. Okay, hopefully that helped whoever had that question. Oh, and look, I didn't realize I didn't have all of the singers selected, so I need to give them a little fade in. So I'm just coming up here to my toolbox and give them a little fade. Okay, and that popped it in those other three, and I can change the curve if I want. You know, like I said, I haven't noticed that curve really making any sort of difference. Oh, and here's another singer here. Okay, well, I won't trouble with us doing it again, but I would just put that fade in on everybody. I sort of didn't notice this one because it was bright pink, you know, it wasn't blue like all the other ones. But I would just go ahead and put that fade in. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at adjusting volume. Okay, so somebody's asking about what about saving? Does this program save automatically like iMovie? It does not. So I've worked for kind of a while, so I'd probably want to come up here and give it a save as, give it a title, Oh Sing Joyfully Demo, but just save what I'm doing and just do that periodically, because you know, obviously you can lose work if you don't save. But what sometimes when people are for real, like working on really complicated mixes, like they'll bounce a project, and the first time they bounce a project, it will be with all the singers aligned and with the pan, and I'll show you doing the pan in just a minute, and just bounce that out, and now they've saved that work. When they start the next time, the next level of work, now maybe they're going to work on EQ. They're going to bring that project in, add the EQ, and bounce that out, so that they've got you know, like all of these bounced outs. That's not really a term, I don't think, but all of these project versions in various steps of the way, so that if you do lose things, you're not going to go back to the very beginning, which I think is a really smart way to work. So it does not automatically save. You will need to save, and saves the work. Like what you're seeing in front of me, if I open this up, it saves this, and I would bring this back in. If you want to create an audio track, like you want to create an MP3 that you could listen to with your you know, on your laptop, you just want to listen to it, not work in the project, you're going to bounce that file out, and then you'll bounce it out to a WAV file, an MP3. I'm going to show you all that in a minute. Okay, so the next thing I want to do though is I want to think about my pan, and this is this knob right here. So I'm going to open up my mixer by pressing the X key, and here's my mixer spread in front of me. So it's everything that is here, everything here, but it just makes it horizontal here. And I think most of us have at least seen a mixer board, even if we've never touched one. We've at least seen what they look like, so hopefully this looks familiar to you. I don't want to work with my MIDI voices right now, so I'm just going to click and drag and select all those MIDI voices, which Logic makes automatically green, and I'm just going to mute them. I'm not interested in them right now. I'm interested in my stereo out. I'm going to put that at 0. I can either drag my fader up and down, or I can just type 0 in my little box. And now I'm going to just look at my 8 singers over here, and I'm going to start out with everybody at 0. So I'm going to just click and drag. I'm going to select them, and I'm just going to start at 0 by typing a 0 in, and now everybody changed to 0. And what I did, except for this one, why did this one not change to 0? Okay, everything just changed to 6 because I clicked on the one with a 6 in it. Okay, don't be difficult here. Let's just be at 0, 1, and all. Okay, we're almost all at 0. Okay, this one's still not at 0. Whoops. Okay. All right, so the 0 is just where I have the fader positioned, and 0 is 0 decibels, so they go into negative numbers. When you go into positive numbers, it's not a positive thing. That's where you're going to get distortion. So you want to stay in the negative numbers and not above 0. Above that is what's called clipping, and it's distorted. And if somebody sends you a recording that is distorted with clipping, you cannot fix it. There's not anything you can do about it. You can try to hide it by turning the volume down in the mix, but if you really want that voice to be present, you're going to have to ask them to re-record and record at a volume that doesn't have clipping or further away from their microphone, or tell them not to sing so loud, you know, that sort of thing. But they're going to have to experiment to how they don't get clipping. All right, so with all of the faders in the same place, I know that people recorded at different levels because of how far away they were from their microphone or what they were recording with, you know, whatever. You're going to get all kinds of different levels. No worries. I'm going to close this up for a second. I'm just going to select an area so that I can listen over and over again while I'm making adjustments. So I'm going to come up here where my measure numbers are, and I'm just going to click and drag. And what I've created is this loop so that I'm not going to have to keep fiddling around with stopping and starting and moving the playhead while I'm listening to the mix. So this is just going to get here, it's going to bounce back to here. So it's just going to stay in that loop. I'm going to open my mixer back up with my X key, and now I'm just going to tell it to play by pressing my space bar, and then I'm going to watch these peak meters that are going to appear in the window to the right. And this lets me know how loud everyone is, and I can compare one to the other. So I'm going to press my space bar.
Unto God our strength, make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise unto the God our day.
Okay, what it's doing is it's capturing an average of all the sound that it's heard since I first started to play. So I could go all the way to the end of the song if I needed to, but obviously I don't need to, and I don't have time to right now. But now what I'm going to look at as these numbers, and look how different they are. So this one is 12.2, so this right now is the softest singer, and then it looks like the loudest singer. Looks like I've got two loud ones at 2.8. So those are the loudest, because the closer you get to 0, the louder it is. So what I'm going to do is I just randomly pick -20, and I'm just going to now move my fader so that I make this total number -20, except I'm just going to round up, so I'm not doing exact math here. So the difference between the difference of 12 to 20 is 8, so I need to add in 8 right here. And I'm going to add in a -8. All these are negatives. Okay, but those two together equal a -20 closely. Again, I'm just thinking in round terms. This one is about 4, so I need a -16. This one is about 3, so I need a -17. This one is 7-ish, so I need a -13. And this one is 3-ish, so I need a -17. This one is -14, so I need a -6-ish. And this one's about 5, so -15. And this one's almost 9, so -11. And this one is 9, so again -11. And this one is almost 9, so again -11. Okay, fancy math. All right, now you can see that these faders are all different places. You may not be able to hear so well on Zoom, but these voices are going to be much more balanced, so I'm going to play them now.
Unto God our strength,
And I hear myself talking, so let me mute my, where's my self-talking? Always talking. Here it is. I'm going to need to mute that. These were my instructions, so. And I'm just getting in and out of my mixer with my X key. Okay, so now let's play it without talking.
Unto God our strength, make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise unto the God our day.
look at how these numbers averaged out, and you can see that they are all really close to 20. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to fine tune that. You know, we all know that a singer might not be singing louder than the singer beside them, but because of the timbre of their voice, we just hear them sticking out of the mix. And so if there's a timbre that is creating that sort of imbalance, then I may just want to just go, oh, well, that voice needs to come down just a little bit. So technically they might be softer, but they're still going to be as present in the mix, and we know that from real life application. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about this pan knob. That's this knob right here. And oh, and also I should just go down here for a second. If I want to just hear one voice, I'm just going to hit solo. And I can release that by hitting my solo key up top. If I just want to mute a voice, I'm going to mute them, and I can just click on it to release the mute. If nothing is there, then I'm going to hear them. So sometimes I just want to hear one voice. Is that the voice with the timbre that's sticking out of the mix? And if it is, then I want to just maybe bring that down a little bit. Okay, so the next thing I need to think about is I think the best advice that I heard somebody give is when you're working in pan, in your stereo pan, is that just as we would never have 40 singers all standing in the exact same place on the riser, obviously that would be physically uncomfortable, if not impossible. We don't want everybody all smashed together in one place. We want them spread out in the rehearsal room or spread out on the choral risers. And so think about your stereo pan as, oh, okay, now I'm just spreading the singers out. Because if they're on top of each other, it's what's called masking in the audio world. We don't want to mask singers with another singer. We want everyone to have their own space to sound. And I mean, to me, that just seems so like real life. So what I'm going to do to get everybody in their own space, give everybody a little room, is I'm going to manipulate this pan, and this is a Midi instrument. It's just not down there with all the other ones, so I'm going to mute it, because remember I moved it to the top to use as an alignment guide. So now if it's double rings, it's stereo. If it's single ring, it's mono. It doesn't matter whether your singers record in stereo or mono. It doesn't matter at all. So I wouldn't recommend that you stress them out with that. You'll just have to do one extra little click right here. If it's a stereo, when you manipulate this knob, by default it is a balance knob. But what you want is a stereo pan. And notice how those green lights with the handles came up. So anything that's a stereo track, I need to just quickly move from stereo pan to balance, and I'm just right clicking on the knob and then selecting it from the menu choices. This one's mono, so notice that I just have pan. This binaural pan is what you want to use if you're mixing for a situation where people are only listening with headphones, but that's not going to be the case with your virtual choir, so I would just leave it on regular. Okay, and that's mono, so it's already, when I click on it, you can see it's already a pan knob. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to spread them out. So let's just pretend that this person is a bass. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to maybe put this bass at approximately plus 11. Like, you don't have to be exact here, but maybe this is another strong bass. I'm going to click, and I'm going to put them at minus 11. So now I have a strong bass on either side of the room, the stereo field. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just clicking, and if I want to move them to the right, it's going to be a plus number, and I just drag up, not side to side. That's what I did for several days. I just couldn't figure out why it wasn't working right. So to the right is click and drag up, and to the left is click and drag down. And so I'm just going to spread my singers out, but obviously I would do this more carefully, and just think about how you would place singers around the room or on the risers, and just use that as your guide. So your preference is what is correct. What is not helpful is to have everybody in the same place. I tend to leave the accompaniment instrument. This is a cappella, so obviously I don't have one, but if on the organ, when I do the church mix, I always leave the organ in the middle, and then I spread the voices around. But you know, you could choose whatever your preference is. You can move things around. For guide tracks, I tend to keep things closer, like within the 5, 10, 15, 20 at the most range of the stereo field, because I am conscious that, you know, somebody may have hearing loss or using a hearing aid, and if I move something so far over one way or another, it might make it harder for them to listen, and we definitely don't want to create barriers for anyone. We want to make all of this as accessible as possible. Okay, so now I've changed the pan, so I'll just play just a little bit. I'm not sure over Zoom if you'll hear the difference, but here it is.
Unto God our strength. Make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise, make a cheerful noise unto our God our Jacob.
So, to my ears, the altos are strong. There's actually 3 altos in this project and only 1 tenor, 2 basses, 2 sopranos, and we altos we have a lot of presence. I'll just call it that, or maybe you could just say obnoxious voices, but you know, the alto part needs to be toned down a little bit, so I would fiddle around with that balance a little bit, but I'm definitely making some improvements here. And then the next and last thing to go over today, and remember that tomorrow is audio again, so I'm going to show you lots of other things tomorrow. But if you're working, let's see, let's just pretend that we are ready to bounce this. It's either our guide tracks or our finished product. Well, it's not our finished product yet because we got things to do. So let's imagine it as our guide track. So I'm going to select the soprano part. I'm going to let's pretend this is a soprano singer, and I'm going to select my instructions. This is, I think, what this audio instructions are. I'm going to select my rhythm track, and I'm ready to go. So I have the things selected that I want on the soprano guide track. And then I just come over here to my stereo out, and there's my bounce key, or else I can just Command B. So here's my bounce key. All right, so this little fun window comes up. The top option is to send things out as a WAV file. That's going to be a very large file that is going to have the most detailed information in it. You don't need that for a guide track, but I do use that for the final mix to put in my virtual choir. Not everybody does. You probably can't really hear the difference. Most people just use an MP3. And what an MP3 is going to do is it's going to be great sound and all that. So it's going to be smaller file size. Here is my start and finish. So I probably am not starting at measure 1 because remember I had all those instructions and things. No, sorry. I am starting at measure 1 for my guide track. So I'll just put that at 1, and whatever my ending measure is, this is not always what your ending measure is. It might be where your playhead last stopped, so let's just say my ending measure is 70, so just going to put that in. And then I always bounce in real time because I like to listen to it as it's going out, and just to make sure that I'm watching my peak meters, I don't have any distortion, you know, I've gotten everything, it sounds good, ready to go. Turn normalize off. This is a filter that you do not want to apply to your finished product, so just turn it off. This over here, I don't change anything, and then I just tell it okay. Then at this point it looks very you know, familiar to us, but I just do want to point out that Logic creates its own folder, so when you download this software, it will automatically create a Logic folder in Music. It will also create this bounce folder that is in the Logic folder. If I go one up, you'll see it looks like, where's my Logic? Okay, it's not going to let me see it. All right, so I'll just let it be in bounce. There's no reason that I've kept all of these bounced files. I need to just go ahead and delete some of them because they're just needlessly taking up space, and these are projects that I've already finished and have no need for these anymore. And then I would just tell it to bounce. And then it's going to do it in real time, and I don't actually want it to bounce in this moment because I want to have time if you have any questions, so I'm just going to escape and stop the bounce. And now I've gotten through with our lesson for today. So let me just check for questions, and then I'll quit screen sharing. What about saying, okay, all right, so and I'm always so pleased and happy there are still people in the room. Yay, all of us. All right, we stuck it out. We got there. So, so Wendy and Jeremy, did I miss any questions along the way?
No, just awesome compliments.
Oh, well, thanks, y'all. Well, I promise I'm not making it up. I promise I'm just sort of at the 10-week mark of my, let's see, I downloaded Logic on May the 8th. So, you know, I haven't had it all that long, but I've used it a lot. And the more you use it, the more you learn. So how about now? Does anyone have any questions just in the moment? And also, I am happy to stay on for a few minutes. If anyone wants to just stay on and just say, could you please do that over again one more time or whatever, I'm more than happy to stay with you and answer your questions. And also, I think I noticed that that Bob from Seattle is in the room, and I met Bob because, thank you, Bob, just shout out to you because Bob answered one of my questions on the virtual choir forum. No, I contacted him to answer one of his questions, and while I had him on Zoom, I said, tell me what you know. And he knew a lot of wonderful things about Logic and taught me about touch and latch, which I'll show you tomorrow. So thank you, Bob. This session was dedicated to Bob. All right, so let's see. I'm seeing some questions, or let me just read through them really quickly. First project I didn't edit, made a recording of the parts on the piano on a voice memo. Yep, with a metronome. Singers listened. Yeah, okay, that could work. Definitely, I have definitely done that myself. MIDI stuff is super precise for sure. If you already have an XML file, you might as well use it. And I will stay on to show you how to create MIDI files. So anybody that wants me to backtrack toward MIDI files, I'm glad to do that. And I'm glad that y'all like to see my mistakes because I make a lot of them. But I don't really call them mistakes. I call them learning opportunities. And curious about syncing the tracks up in Logic Pro. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to show you about syncing to your video once we get into our video program. And that's Thursday and Friday. And people are asking about the recordings of these meetings, and they will be present on the website whenever we've had a chance to just clean them up a bit and get them. So the webmaster is going to have to put them on the website. What we'll do is we'll have a YouTube link, and so you'll have to just wait for that link to go on the website. That's not something that Wendy and Jeremy can do right away, but we'll get it on there. Let's see. So the question about Audacity, like when you record a second track, will it place it at the end of the previous track? It will, unless you just create a new track. So if you're recording a new track, you know, create your new track first and record into your new track. Or else you can keep recording, but then eventually you're going to have to create a new track and then drag that region down, you know, to just get all your voices on a separate track. Yes, so do I ever use EQ and or effects on the imported audio tracks? I do not want people to do anything except for record their voices singing on the track that they give me. So I don't want anyone to make any fancies. I want them to just send me the raw file, which takes courage, but I want them to send me that raw file, and then I'll be able to. I do not want to mix where somebody's put reverb on a track. That would be a disaster. And that's also in the instructions why I said don't record in the shower or in the stairwell. Like, it sounds good to us, but it's, you know, when radio people record, if they're on the road, they get in the closet with their clothes and they record in as dead a space as possible, because you don't want any reverb on that recording. Let's see. Afternoon, okay, all right. Let's see. Downloading the Movavi, not sure what one does to take a singer video and put it into. So I'm happy to demonstrate that again. That was when I just took it from the folder and just drug it into the converter, asked it to convert, and then magic, I get the file that I want. Okay, yeah, and I I don't bounce tracks with normalize on because it will compress, and it will make your track sound different than you intended. And a lot of times I've found that it sounds distorted, so I don't like it. Yeah, so let me just show you tomorrow because some of y'all are asking, are we going to learn specific things tomorrow? So let me show you what's on our lesson for tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. This is where the fun starts happening if you're not already having fun. Okay. All right, so tomorrow we're going to work in our flex tools. So if we need to correct pitch and time, I'll show you how to bounce in place after you make those adjustments. We're going to work in our EQ tools. We're going to work in our track stacks, which makes you'll see why that's helpful. And then Bob introduced me to read, touch, latch, so I'll show you about that. We're going to visit the wonderland of reverb and then bounce all that out as a finished product. And that's what's happening tomorrow. And then Thursday is video, and then Friday is video and finishing up. So, okay. All right, it was right at 2:58. Are there any other questions? If you're doing a longer piece, can mistakes be fixed by having a singer just re-record the phrase and edit it in? Yeah, as long as they're using the guide track, you could just plug in that one little place. You certainly could do that. Yeah, so as long as the guide track's used, you should be able to line everything up, and that's certainly a good idea. Okay, Wendy, any wrap-ups as people are leaving?
I'm here.
Jeremy? Okay, Jeremy.
Sorry, I'm here too.
That's all right.
But
Okay.
go ahead, Jeremy.
No, just that when you mentioned the website, we're still having a little difficulty, but this evening it should be ready to go, and it's a great time to register for that conference that starts on Saturday. Shameless plug.